Going back, of course, to Paul in 1 Corinthians 1, where Paul speaks about the cross, and he says that the word of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing. It's folly, and the entire message is weakness to the world. And so Paul relishes those labels, those descriptions of folly and weakness as describing the cross and the gospel more broadly. And he says, the foolishness of God is wiser than the wisdom of men. The weakness of God is stronger than the power of men. And so that's kind of where these categories of weak and strong originate for me. Fast forward a millennium and a half, you get to Martin Luther. And Luther famously sort of operated with this paradigm that he called a theology of the cross versus a theology of glory. Now, these categories function differently for Luther a little bit than the way I'm using them. The way Luther used them was that theology of the cross had to do with being satisfied as creatures with what God has revealed and not trying to steal illicit glimpses of the Deus nudus, the naked God, the Deus absconditus, the hidden God, but instead being content with what God has revealed and leaving the things that he has not revealed to his own counsel. It's not our business. So that for Luther was a theology of the cross and a theology of glory. Jump ahead again to the mid-20th century and you get to Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the famous German theologian who was imprisoned by the Nazis for his part in a plot to assassinate Hitler. He was imprisoned by the Nazis and he was executed by them in 1945. But in the months leading up to his execution, he wrote a bunch of letters, and you can find his papers and letters from prison still that are published and in print to this day. And in those letters, he developed what he called a religionless Christianity. He talked about God. The traditional understanding of God is a deus ex machina. The traditional understanding of God is an idol. It's this sort of vending machine God that we trot out, and anytime there's a gap in our knowledge, we need to explain, what is thunder? Well, it's God, clearing his throat or whatever. I by the way, all of this that I'm talking about here and that I'll be developing in the future, there are short videos I've made that are on the Relic 2024 YouTube channel and the Relic 2024 TikTok account. You can access those and get some more insight. They're cursory and brief, but they're fun to make and fun to watch. From Bonhoeffer, you skip ahead, a few years, and you got the Death of God movement of the mid-20th century, really the 1960s. And there's that famous Time magazine cover, all black with big red letters, "Is God Dead?" And a lot of these guys were piggybacking on the insights of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who lived about 20 years or so before they did their work. Jump ahead to the current day, the present day, you've got guys like John D. Caputo, whose books have been extremely beneficial and helpful for me. The most accessible one, because he's an academic, and a lot of what he writes is on an academic level, which might be a bit dense for the average reader. But the book that's the most accessible, that is written for a popular audience, is called Hoping Against Hope. Confessions of a Postmodern Pilgrim, I believe, is the subtitle. But really, develops these ideas and really makes them beautiful. And then Peter Rollins, the Northern Irish philosopher theologian, is also someone who has been very, very impactful and influential for me. We interviewed him on my Drunk Ex-Pastors podcast. We interviewed Peter some years back, and that was really fun. So this idea of exile as suspicion of empire, each of those categories being shorthand for weak theology and strong theology.